This is Up for Debate, episode number 243, recorded November 3rd, 2022. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Up for Debate, the debate podcast where the two of us agree on everything. I'm Sean Jennings, joined by a man who's been scaring children almost as long as RL Stein has. It's Matt Mariani. Hello, Matt.
Hello there, Sean. Happy Spook-Vember. We're in November now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, missed that a little bit, but that's all right. At least we can talk about Halloween. Just happened a couple days ago.
Yeah. How was your Halloween?
My Halloween was radically uneventful, other than a small office party where I won second in the costume contest, not to brag.
Congratulations.
But
Mazel
that was
tov.
me bragging.
What did you go as?
That was about it. I went as, let me see if I can. I shouldn't really, because I didn't post about it on social media, but I was, all right. Should I share the photo on the stream here, you think?
Share it on the stream. I'm just really wondering if you went with my screw idea. Remember
No, I
said
didn't. I was a toucan.
I was not expecting that, but very nice costume. All right, a toucan. Oh yeah, there you go. You got the feet. Okay, what was the inspiration for this costume, Sean?
I saw it on HalloweenCostumes.com and thought, well, that'd be neat, and so I bought it. That was the whole extent. Because I'm not like, it sounds stupid and contrived, but I'm not. I didn't want to go as like a branded like, I like the idea of the generic Halloween costume. There's something funny about that to me. Like, oh, I'm Iron Man. Oh, I'm Spider-Man. And I'm like, I'm a bird. Like, that's just funny to me. And this guy looked cool. So I said, sure, why not? I spent virtually no time thinking about it.
Now, what do you think would have happened if you had dressed up like a giant screw?
Oh, I would have won the costume contest for sure. Forget about second. I would have been first and unforgettable.
What if you were a giant screw and the character Scrooge from A Christmas Tale, the Christmas Story, and you called yourself Mr. Scrooge, like Scrooge. That was what I suggested last episode, and I think you would have not only won first place, I think you would have won the undying respect of all of your coworkers for life. And you probably would have been made president of the company.
Yeah,
right then and there. They would have just crowned you.
Seemed like a little much, if I'm being honest. A little hat on a hat, as the kids would say.
Well, you would have you could have put like a little hat on your screw costume and worn like monocles. Scrooge, but it's a screw. I'm telling you, Sean. Next year, you got next.
So, what did you go at before you?
Next year,
what did you go as?
I went as I wore flannel to work. And most people thought I was either a lumberjack or the brawny paper towel man. But the real story was I just wanted to wear flannel because it's really comfortable and I don't get to wear flannel to work that much.
Oh, so it wasn't even a costume. You just happened to be wearing an alternate shirt.
I thought about like taking a quarter. I was going to tape the quarter to my back and I was going to be a quarterback.
Okay. Subtle.
Or I could have also done that with a nickel, and I could have been nickelback.
Okay. All right. Listen, you should have carried around a roll of paper towels. I think you would have been an excellent brawny man. I think that would have been very amusing.
Mm-hmm. I for a fact I did. I mean, I did have a little paper towel, but most that kind of goes over the heads of most people, I think. But I knew what was up. It was good. It was a good Halloween. All in all, we had about 100, almost 180 something trick-or-treaters, almost 190 trick-or-treaters.
Holy hell, wow.
According to a neighborhood count that somebody on our block did and posted onto the Facebook group, which is it's just an insane number of kids, but he apparently counted. He had a little counter and kept track of every trick-or-treater throughout the evening, which is huge, especially for a Monday night. Crazy.
Wow. But, and I know everyone who went to your house, correct me if I'm wrong, got a pocket-sized U.S. Constitution. Is that right? You got
to keep reading your Constitution. That's all I'm going to say.
Always have your rights with you.
Yeah. Know your rights. Yeah.
Is what you said to every trick-or-treater.
Indeed. We had a spinner. We were known as the Fun House or the Carnival House. That's what the kids kept calling us. We had a little spinner that my wife made, and it had a number on it, and the number was how many pieces of candy you got. 1 through 4.
Wow, so you're introducing children to gambling.
Yeah, no, and some of those kids, they should be playing the lottery right now. Some of them had a lucky spin, and I said, wait till you learn about roulette.
See, but that's when you're standing there with a kid and they get the biggest number on the wheel. That's when you go, "No, I'm ruined. I've been bankrupt, honey. We have to sell the house."
That's pretty good. That's pretty clever. Or you just kind of go over and you tilt the wheel a little bit so that it goes back to, oh, sorry, kid.
Oh, no, so close. You'll get them next time.
The house always wins. Just keep that in mind.
That's funny. Oh, man.
The house always
I like
wins.
that idea. Yep. Making the kids gamble for their candy.
Yeah.
No,
it was
I will tell you.
Mm-hmm.
My neighborhood is all lights out. But occasionally people do walk through. There's a couple houses. But my house was lights off, and I was not giving out candy because I got 5 people last year. But I had to take the trash out. So I'm in my pajamas, head to toe, with a big bag of trash. And so I step out of my front door, and just at the moment I step out, a woman and a child are walking by. The child immediately turns and starts walking towards me to get candy. Now, again, I'm a man in head-to-toe pajamas carrying a giant bag of trash. And I had to politely explain to them that, no, in fact, I don't. I don't. This is not a big bag of candy. This is trash, and I don't have any candy.
You thought the trash was...
Well, it was a young child who I just think saw somebody near their house.
Do that on Christmas too, but just wear a Santa hat and just be like, "Oh, I forgot why I had this on," or just start handing the kid your trash.
Oh, I don't know why I put all this trash in a big velvet red bag. Must have been confusing. Yeah, no, it was. So don't ever leave your house for any reason on Halloween. Is good advice.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, speaking of Halloween, we have some unfinished, like the undead, we have some unfinished business, and that would be Goosebumps. So back in October, we talked about RL Stein's classic book series, Goosebumps, and their various spin-offs, and we decided we were each going to read a couple and report back on what we found. Matt, did you do your homework?
I did, as always. I have my full book reports right here. Ready to go.
Excellent. Excellent. Where you want to go first, or
where should we even start?
Yeah, any particular books stand out for you?
Let's see. Let's start with your pick. What was your favorite, Sean? What book did you like? I'm going to pull my notes up.
So I read a couple, and actually, Matt, I double experimented here because not only did I read Goosebumps, I was curious because these books you can get the ebooks for free. I didn't want to buy the books, but I was like, how am I going to read these ebooks? I don't have a tablet. It would have been on my laptop. So I bought a Kindle to try.
Okay.
And I haven't done proper ebooks in a long time because I never liked them. I found them hard to read on that screen. And I said, I'll try it again. Maybe and I will say the technology's gotten better. Like the screens are really nice. Still did not like reading ebooks. My eyes skip around the page, and I have trouble reading on a screen. So that was a failed experiment. But the first book I read, I am going to look so I can get the exact publishing information of it. It was actually turned into one of the episodes of the TV series, Stay Out of the Basement, first published in 1992. This is the second ever Goosebumps book. The blurb on the back says, Dr. Brewer is doing a little plant testing in his basement. Nothing to worry about. Harmless, really. But Margaret and Casey Brewer are worried about their father, especially when they meet some of the plants he is growing down there. Then they notice that their father is developing plant-like tendencies. In fact, he is becoming distinctly weedy and seedy. Is it just part of their father's harmless experiment, or has the basement turned into another little shop of horrors?
So this is like a case of the plants. What, like going awry? Are the plants alive? Like what?
Oh, do you want me to spoil it for you?
Yeah. So we should talk about that. How do we feel about spoilers?
I think we can spoil Goosebumps.
Okay.
I think that's
I'm okay with it.
Mostly
I'm okay with it, but listeners, be warned. From this point on, there will be spoilers.
This is definitely one of the more famous, especially because it was the second one, Goosebumps books. Like I said, it was turned into an episode of the TV series. There's actual merchandise you can buy related to this particular book. Basically, so one of the things I realized after reading a couple of these is there are a lot of similar consistencies between them, namely young children who discover something is amiss or wrong or get entangled in something, usually a brother and sister. In many of them are somehow involved. That's certainly true in this. As Margaret and Casey, and their father, Dr. Brewer, the main characters. Dr. Brewer got kicked out of his university job for doing strange experiments with plants. So he brings them and starts doing them in the basement. The kids are like, "Hey, it's weird. Our dad's acting weird." They go down, check it out. The plants are like breathing, and weird shit's happening. Suddenly, their dad starts like eating dirt and growing leaves from his head and having green blood instead of red blood. And basically his experiments are combining DNA from people and plants into each other. At some point, he creates a clone of himself that's made of plant, which then ties up the real Dr. Brewer. And it's the plant Dr. Brewer that tries to kill the kids to cover up the experiment. All is revealed. And that's generally the plot.
Okay. Yeah, something I've noticed is at the heart of all these books, and it shouldn't be surprising, but because they're books for kids, like horror books for kids specifically, but at the heart of all these books, it seems like there's like a very rational, explainable childhood fear of something that gets just then ratcheted up to 11 or 12. And that's the main like conflict of the book, or the main like conceit of the book, the main like plot. And I don't know why it surprised me, but I guess it's a trend in all the books that I read. It's kind of makes sense. I mean, it takes like it's very Stephen King kind of approach of like it takes a very human fear, or a very like there's not always a monster. Sometimes the monster is us, kind of thing. But in this case, it's like the basement, right? People are scared to go in the basement, and that's got to be. I mean, just looking at the title of a lot of these, it's got to be like half of these books are fear of going down to the basement, or fear of like a dark place, or a scary unknown place, right? I think on the right track with this. Oh
yeah, no. You're totally. I mean, I was very impressed at how well RL Stein is getting the kids' perspective. Like it really is. It's one thing to write a book for a kid, but it's another to write it to them. You know what I mean? Where it really is speaking in the child's voice in a realistic way. And I give him a lot of credit because I think he does it. Another thread throughout this and others is that adults are usually hiding something, being sneaky, dismissing the kids. It shows a power balance where usually in the end the kids were right, and they were right to be suspicious or not trust the adult figure in the story. Again, another very real childhood feeling. So it certainly felt very child focused, and even in the way I didn't bring my Kindle over, so I don't have the books in front of me, but because I would have read some quotes. But even the way the dialogue is written is very, very much in a kid's voice.
Yeah, it's very much in tune to, I think, not only childhood fears, but like a lot of like the way the kids talk is very realistic. It's very like, it's not. I thought it was going to be very like cornball and like clearly an adult writing children, but it's really not. Especially like when you consider the time period that he writes these books in the 90s. It's like this is how kids probably would have talked to each other, like young kids and young adults alike. So. He does really seem to know his craft well, and also to know the audience that he's writing for. He had definitely seemed like he had a gift for that, and that's why he's an enduring figure in the young adult scene, the book world.
Mm-hmm. The last thing is Stay in the Basement, a fine read. I would. It's short. I mean, all the books are pretty short, but these are like blazing fast reads. Obviously, they're children's books, so if they were a struggle to read, that would be a problem. But they were certainly short. Matt, what's one of the ones you read?
I'll start off with The Curse of Camp Cold Lake.
Okay.
The Curse of Camp Cold Lake. So basically, the premise here is... There's a summer camp that I'll read my blurb. First published in 1997. The blurb here goes, camp is supposed to be fun, but Sarah hates Camp Cold Lake. The lake is gross and slimy, and she's having a little trouble with her bunkmates. They hate her. So Sarah comes up with a plan. She'll pretend to drown. Then everyone will feel sorry for her. But things don't go exactly the way Sarah planned. Because down by the cold, dark lake, someone is watching her. Stalking her. Someone with pale blue eyes and a see-through body. So, haunted summer camp by a lake. Definitely not definitely a path that has been trodden before. But I was really impressed with this. There's a really, it's a pretty straightforward story about Sarah not fitting in. Like her bunkmates are all kind of paired up already and friends when she gets there. So she experiences again a very like typical childhood thing of like not fitting in and not making friends right away and all the anxieties that come along with that. Mean girls being mean, another pretty common trope that we see and real thing we see in children, young adults. But the twist here is when she tries to execute her plan of like faking her own death or at least faking her own drowning to try to get sympathy. She meets this like ghost figure called Della, and Della tries to get her to become her buddy. And that's probably my favorite scene in the whole book is the scene where she meets her for the first time, because when she's in the water, when she emerges from the water, she describes like the trees around the camp as everything being like cold, like it's all the leaves are gone from the trees and it's very like much like winter time. But she said that's impossible because it's the summertime. You know, the leaves should still be on the trees. And just the way they describe the whole atmosphere of this like netherworld where she meets this like demonic ghost figure who then continues to haunt her for the rest of the book. Really, really cool. I also really like the ending. Really great ending. Big twist that I did not at all see coming. And I guess I'll spoil it here.
Sure.
So Sarah is the main girl. The main like kind of like hero of the story. Couple of her other bunkmates, one of them is Brianna. And it's revealed at the end of the book that Brianna, like throughout the book, has been kind of the she's been like along for the adventure. She's been like actually kind of like the main antagonist of all the bunkmates. It's revealed that Brianna's dead, and Brianna was killed by Della, the ghost of the lake, years and years ago. Prior to that, but she basically like continues to I guess like exists at the camp to try to protect other kids from Della, from the ghost, basically. So Brianna's like a ghost, which is kind of cool because if you read the book, Brianna is like always sort of watching out for Sarah, even though like Sarah's having a really tough time fitting in. I wouldn't say she's like becomes an instant friend, but she's the one that's always like kind of like looking out for her. And there's no clues at all to make you think that Brianna, it's not obvious. Like there's no big sign that's like, you know, Brianna is a ghost. But the reveal that Della succeeded in killing her, it was a really cool twist. It was really neat. And then at the end, I think it also kind of alludes to maybe Brianna trying to like not have the best intentions of being Sarah's friend, because she like is like, well, now you'll be my buddy forever, and which is what Della was always. Della was trying to get her to be her buddy forever. So it's like, okay, all right, maybe she's also like a camp demon. Maybe there's just like a long succession of this happening. I don't know. I liked it. Wasn't my favorite of all the books that I read, but it was up there. Probably my second favorite.
Yeah, the twist ending is really common in Goosebumps books. Not all of them, but in a lot of them. I think it's kind of a clever way to, you know, the books ramp up as they go on. It starts slow. You get the clues, very horror movie-esque, right? Getting to the big conclusion. I think it's a great way to break the tension at the end. For particularly scary books, I think it's a smart idea. Matt, this might be a good time to bring up probably my overarching theory about Goosebumps that I learned in reading these, okay?
I like this, yeah.
They're good books. I like them a lot. They are not horror books. They are creepy. They are strange. They're thrillers, maybe. They're more Twilight Zone than scary. I did not, and again, I'm an adult. I'm a kind of grown man. So I get I'm not the target demographic. Even when I was a kid, I didn't find them scary. They're upsetting is maybe a word, but they're not scary.
I have a really tough time, and I'm not saying this to try to be like macho. I'm not trying to say this to be like, you know, nothing scares me. Things scare me, but I've never been frightened by literature. I've never read something and been like, I've always been kind of looking for it though, and that's why I would really be interested in like if you were to read House of Leaves, because that's kind of the thing that comes the closest to me for like literary horror or fear. I've read a number of, you know, like Stephen King, H.P. Lovecraft, the classic horror. I just still haven't found something that has like personally terrified me within the medium, and I've always wanted to. I've always been seeking that out. But I totally agree with your assessment. I think that these Goosebump books are more Twilight Zone than they are horror.
Well,
it's all about the
one
twists.
Other thing too, is that I think part of the fact that not all of these, but certainly the scarier of them, use a lot of science fiction or fantasy or sort of, you know, there's no book in here where it's like, you're a regular person and your regular teacher turned out to be a serial killer and tries to murder you. Like, it's not those kind of books where I think they're just over the line fantastical enough where it's like, I would think as a young child, you wouldn't be like, couldn't sleep at night because you're worried this will happen to me. Like, my dad is not turning into a plant monster. You know, I'm not going to run into a ghost at summer camp. And I think that helps bring down some of the tension for a children-focused series.
Yeah, I that's why I kind of can't wait to I'm excited now that we've introduced that theory to talk about my next book. But what was your second book?
My second book, I chose this one purposefully because it seemed like the least scary one I could find, called Deep Trouble, published in May of 1994. It is 19th in the series. The blurb: Billy and his sister Sheena are visiting their uncle Dr. Deep on a tiny Caribbean island. It's the perfect place to go exploring underwater, ... And Billy's ready for an adventure. There's only one rule to remember: stay away from the coral reefs. Still, the reefs are so beautiful, so peaceful. Billy can't resist, but he's not alone in the water. Something's lurking deep below the surface. Something dark and scaly, something half human, half fish. And there is basically no horror element at all. It's not even particularly twisted. Basically, the kids, summer vacation, hanging out with their uncle on the boat. The doctor says, oh, they've been sighting mermaids around here. Billy goes out, finds the mermaid. Dr. Deep catches the mermaid, is going to study it, but then some bad guys come around and try and steal it. It's very, like, generic kid action movie kind of stuff where it's like, oh, cool, we found a mermaid. And then the bad guys come, we're going to take and put her in a zoo. And the kids are like, you can't do that. Let her free. And then there's a fight back and forth and all this stuff. And in the end, the mermaid goes away and gets let go. And like, that's the whole book. Definitely whack, this one. Not scary, decently written. Weird it's a Goosebumps book. Like, if this had a different name, I would say it's a fine book, but it's not a Goosebumps. There's nothing particularly scary or interesting about this book, if I have to be honest.
Yeah, that doesn't really sound, that didn't really grip me. I didn't get goosebumps from that one at all. I got maybe some just nothing. Really felt nothing from that description. A whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, it was pretty weak, although this book was one of 3 Goosebumps books to win a Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards, which I didn't know they gave to books, which won in 1995. The other 2 winners were Even More Tales to Give You Goosebumps in 96 and Deep Trouble 2 in 1998. So I guess kids liked it. But not for me. I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna do my favorite of the night. Yeah, do it.
I think we'll bring it up. We'll bring it back. We'll bring it back from your. I'm assuming that was your least favorite, your worst pick.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll bring it to my favorite because it ties so well with what you said about the genre. And this book was basically a Twilight Zone episode for children. The book I'm talking about is The Cuckoo Clock of Doom.
Yeah.
Great story. Published in 1995. The blurb is, don't beat the clock. Tara the Terrible. That's what Michael Webster calls his bratty little sister. She loves getting Michael into trouble, making his life miserable. Things couldn't get any worse. Then Mr. Webster brings home the antique cuckoo clock. It's old, it's expensive, and Mr. Webster won't let anyone touch it. Poor Michael. He should have listened to his dad, because someone put a spell on the clock. A strange spell, a dangerous spell. And now Michael's life will never be the same again in the Twilight Zone. Like, can't you see like Rod Sterling reading that introduction?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So basically this kid travels through, of course, it's a time travel story. Because the cuckoo clock has a secret defect where if anybody like mishandles it, it transports people and it transports them into time, back through time. But it creates a paradox because he gets transported back in time to the point before his parents have purchased the clock. His dad brings the clock home. So now he's kind of stuck it's like being stuck in the past, but he keeps regressing. So he goes, I think he wants to go back to like his 12th birthday, because that was the point where he said, like, you know, he thinks his life has gone downhill. Apparently his sister ruined his 12th birthday by like messing stuff up because she's a kid or whatever. And he goes back to the 12th birthday, but basically he keeps going back further and further, but he retains all of his experiences and knowledge of being a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old, which I think is really a really interesting concept to unpack. Like, he's regressing through time, but he has all of these experiences and knowledge of basically a prepubescent boy. And he's realizing, like, his friends are immature. He knows how to do basic things that, like, kids know how to do because he's learned it already. And his life, it becomes like hell, basically, because he's just like, you know, a 12-year-old boy trapped in like, and it goes all the way back. Like, it goes back to like when him as an infant. But what I also, it's again with the ending, right? Throughout the latter acts of the book, he's wishing that he could stop it all. He's wishing he could reverse it, and he could go back and basically unmake the wish. And then he finally wakes up, or it's not wakes up, right? It's not like a dream, but he reaches a point where the dad happens to go by the antique shop, Anthony's Antiques, where this clock is, and they're going there to like buy something else, but he like escapes, and he finds the clock, and he's an infant, he's like a baby, but like his memories are all there. He has like the 12-year-old's like memories and stuff, and he reaches out and he touches the clock and he goes forward in time, but he realizes that there's something missing on the clock. A year. And it's the year that his sister was born. So his sister is never born in this future. And the book just kind of leaves you with like this. It doesn't say like, it's not like a cautionary tale or anything, but it's also not like a happy ending either. It's just like this it's like this, you know, he is now going to have the memories of this sister for the rest of his life that never was. And no one else knows that but him. So he's going to be forever haunted by this. And it's that kind of existential fear, dread, that I thought I was surprised. I was floored that this would be in a children's book. That RL Stein would include this in a children's book. You wouldn't see it today, right? It would either be like, oh, but he figured out a way to go back in time and bring the sister back. Or like, you know, let this be a lesson to you. Be careful what you wish. But it kind of was that, but it was also like, there's no reversing this. Like, this kid messed up, and he's going to live with it for the rest of his life. And he kind of likes it. He's like, well, you know, she was kind of like a brat and got me into a lot of trouble. But he's like, oh, I also kind of miss having a sister. It's really, really deep for a kid's book. I love this book. The Cuckoo Clock of Doom is my favorite. It's my Goosebumps pick of the night.
Nice. Excellent. Well, you know, again, it's those similar childhood concepts, you know, the annoying sibling, right? The annoying little sister who I just wish was gone, right? It's sort of that. I mean, that's a very common thought. And it's interesting to sort of, you're right, the fact that he's in a way tortured throughout the book, punished for what he did. And then in the end, he got what he wanted. Kind of not really the lesson you should be taking away from this. Yeah, awesome. No, I'm loving this Goosebumps wiki because I'm learning all kinds of fun facts, including on this one. According to a book that was released while signing books in a mall bookstore, a girl walked up to RL Stein. Her name was Tara, and she asked RL Stein to make her a character in a book. She said she wanted her character to be bad, so RL Stein named the character Tara Webster after her. R.L. Stein has cited this as being one of his favorite Goosebumps books. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Yeah, you're right. Very much that Twilight Zone, Strange, careful what you wish for type stuff. Nice, good. Did you read any other Goosebumps, or was that?
I did. I was actually just reading further on that. Did you read about the connection with another character or historical figure that we mentioned on the show?
Yes, isn't that
previous
interesting?
Episode? Michael and Tara's father, mentioned by name in the books, his name is Herman Webster. The name is reminiscent, though I guess it's unclear if it was intentional, of famous serial killer H.H. Holmes, whose name was Herman Webster Mudgett. Kind of cool. Maybe coincidence, or maybe not. But we talked about H.H. Holmes in our another book related episode. We read Devil in the White City.
Seems like the kind of thing R.L. Stein would know.
Yeah. Oh, I think it was intentional. Yeah, I almost without a doubt. Yeah, but very cool. Yeah. I did read another book. I read one more. I read. Do you want to do one? Do you want to do one? I feel like.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. Did I read one more? I thought I did. I mean, obviously not very memorable. If I didn't. Oh, okay. I read Ghost Beach.
Sure.
Beach. Yeah. Oh, no. I wanted to read Ghost Beach. I never did. I'm looking back at the tier list again, just so I can get like a refresher of the ones that I read.
I was looking at this. They have a list on here of never scrapped books.
Mm-hmm.
Including this one. In 1994, a contest was held to create a Goosebumps title. The winner of the contest was Jim, who came up with the title Slime Doesn't Pay.
Oh, my God.
Though was never actually used for a book, unfortunately.
That does sound like that sounds like a Goosebumps book. I'm amazed that they didn't go with it for a title. Slime
The Incredible
Doesn't Pay.
Shrinking Fifth Grader. Never released.
Also, sounds like the name of a book. I can't remember if I read this book, Sean, but I can't remember if it was one of the ones I locked in on a previous episode or if I went rogue a little bit.
That's okay.
Was it it was Say Cheese and Die?
Yes, we had talked about that.
We did. We talked about it. I can't remember. I have to re-listen to the episode if I locked it in. I remember liking the cover of it, but this is the one I read because I didn't write any of them down. But 1992, I'll read the blurb. Every picture tells a story. Greg thinks there is something wrong with the old camera he and his friends found. The photographs keep turning out wrong, very wrong. Like the snapshot Greg took of his father's new car that shows it totaled. And then Greg's father is in a nasty wreck. But Greg's friends don't believe him. Sherry even makes Greg bring the camera to her birthday party and take her picture. Only Sherry's not in the photograph when it develops. Is Sherry about to be taken out of the picture permanently? Who is going to take the next fall for the evil camera? This one was okay. This was probably my weakest one of the night, only because I read it last. Mm-hmm. And it was after I had read The Cuckoo Clock, which I thought was just kind of blew me away. It's your standard, and your standard Twilight Zone kind of plot where the camera foretells the future or brings misfortune and you're not sure which, and so they take photos of it's another like cursed object kind of story. But I thought that the Cuckoo Clock one was just there was a lot more weight to it. Like in the end, they could have just decided to not with the camera. They could have been like, let's just stop taking pictures of stuff and maybe bad stuff won't happen, but they don't. They keep like kind of pushing the envelope with it. And then there's this really stupid. I didn't care for the introduction of like this like mad scientist character named Dr. Fritz Fredericks.
Nice.
Who was the one that built the It gets really wacky, and it takes away a lot of the mystery. Like he built this camera as like a way to like it was going to be like a science experiment kind of thing, but his partner got mad at him and put a hex on the camera. It gets really it's really kind of all over the place toward the end, and then it becomes like a mad scientist haunted house kind of story because the mad scientist captures the kid. It really is all over the place. So in the end, they just kind of like at the end they just decide to kind of not. They're like, let's just hide this camera and never like discover it again. And then the bullies in town discover the camera and like start taking pictures of each other with it. And so it's like kind of like the cycle is going to continue, like Jumanji. Yeah, this was a miss for me.
It's so funny when you start individually, the books are fine. You start looking at them in aggregate, and you remember he wrote like 400 of these. Mm-hmm. Then you start noticing like, and I'm just of my knowledge of Goosebumps books, I'm like, find a camera that takes a picture of people and they die. Kids are always finding dangerous things in RL Stein land, where it's like they find a mirror that turns you invisible, and they find a cream that turns you into a werewolf, and they find a recipe that if you make it, you can fly. And by the way, these are all real ones. I'm not making these up. like some of these tropes are just like really predictable through all the books, and I can imagine after a while. Although interesting enough, Stay Tuned and Die is only the 4th ever Goosebumps book.
Yeah, it seemed pretty early. I just encountered in the trivia section of this wiki. The plot of this book is similar to Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone episode, A Most Unusual Camera. R.L. Stein, turns out, was a big fan of the show, and much of his work is directly inspired by it. And it is a little bit like, The Dead Zone, which I read, Stephen King. Although I kind of saw more of that in the Cuckoo Clock episode, because it has to do with like time travel and it totally fits, right? It's Twilight Zone for kids.
And literally, that is pretty accurate. It's interesting. The one thing I did look up is the television series, which did a Say Cheese and Die episode. Is available to stream, all 4 seasons on Netflix. So I may have to check that out.
Yeah. Maybe we'll check it out and talk about it on the show.
Hey, I would be down for that. They did like basically almost every book. They did something like 40 out of the 60 in the original series and then a bunch of the other spin-offs. So They did I think all the ones we've talked about tonight, they did an episode on. Deep Trouble, No, they did. No, I think they did do an episode on every one we talked about. So, could be interesting.
The episode Say Cheese and Die features a young Ryan Gosling as Greg.
Whoa! As Greg?
As Greg.
Greg?
The one and only Greg.
The Greg.
Yeah, the main character of the story. Well, one
That's
of
awesome.
them. He's the one that finds the camera. So he's, Ryan Gosling. A young, very young Ryan Gosling, I'm sure. How old is Ryan Gosling?
I wouldn't even know where to start.
Year of our Lord 2022, Ryan Gosling is 41.
Oh, good for him.
Amazing.
Young man.
Okay.
Young man.
Yeah. He was born November 12th, 1980. He is exactly 6 foot, and he's going to be in an upcoming movie about Barbie. He's going to play Ken.
That's right, he is, with Margot Robbie. It's supposed to be quite interesting. Quite interesting.
So did you read a third book, or have we gone through all of them?
I did not get a chance.
Okay. I will say that these were quick reads. These were very quick, very easy reads. So this is probably the quickest and easiest set that I think we've done on Up for Debate thus far.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I may go back and read more at some point. They're not too bad at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
It did make me kind of interested in picking them up every now and then. I will say they're not bad.
Yeah, like I said, the TV series is supposed to be reasonably decent.
Okay,
so
we should check it out.
I think we should check it out. They're short, so
yeah. Like I said, this was my first foray into Goosebumps ever. I've never even touched it. So,
and would you say it was a worthwhile endeavor?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. These are books that I would definitely encourage more kids to read. And I hope that does he still write, Stein? Is he still writing kids' books?
No, I think
Goosebumps kind of done, right? It's been a while. I mean, the man has got to be, enjoying his golden years. So
yeah, he's written because he did Fear Street after Goosebumps, which were the sort of more adult-focused novels, and then he did Rotten School. And he's done graphic novel. I mean, he's done a bunch of stuff outside. He is working.
The man has lived.
Short stories, anthologies. I think he was involved in the Goosebumps movies that came out with Jack Black. He's done comic books. So no, he is definitely still working for sure.
Cool. So what do we have coming up on the show?
Well, Matt, we do have to talk about that. So, if you remember, the month of September, known as Sean Tember, okay? We breezed right past that. That was not happening. So then we moved it to Sean Vember. The problem with Sean Vember is, this is the first week of November. I'm here next week. The following week, I'm in Las Vegas for work. So, they're for the whole week, so we're not going to do a show. And the following week is Thanksgiving.
Big Screw Convention. Big Screw Town that Las Vegas is. Actually, I'm going to the pool and spa show, so I'll see if I can get you a nice hot tub while I'm there. Get you a show deal. Love it.
So Sean Vember is kind of already a bust before we even began. So Matt, I'm very excited to introduce. It's been rolled into 2023. Seanuary will be coming later this year. All the way into next year. So I get 2 months next year because I'm going to do Seanuary. I'm going to do Sean Temper again. So I get 2 months next year.
Unprecedented, unheard of. And that only gives us a month. It only gives us a month of recovery before March Madness. So,
and usually February is pre and post Super Bowl episodes in our prop bet. So it eats up there. So, and then we do March Madness, and then we almost basically roll into whatever next movie franchise. So the question is, what are we going to do for the next 2 months? I have no earthly clue. Matt, is there anything you would like to talk about on future episodes?
Well, we got to do a review of. I mean, we kind of made that plan, a review of the Goosebumps TV show. So I would say stay tuned for that. Maybe
in spooky November,
you had some good stuff. You pitched some good stuff.
I have ideas.
Yeah. And
Spider-Man, that we were going to watch Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
Which
I did order. I just ordered
for.
I just ordered one of the guys. What? No, I should have though. No, one of the guys who wrote the musical wrote a book about the experience of making it and all the shit that went wrong, and so I just ordered it. So I'm going to read that, and maybe they'll give us some context. So that will come. I want to do. I have a few different other ideas that I'm cooking up because I'm always trying to play with the format a little bit. So more to come for sure. We'll be coming out with all kinds of stuff. The holidays are coming up. It's going to be a treat.
Indeed.
But that's going to end it here.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up. Thanks everybody for joining us on our abbreviated Shocktober. We appreciate you being here. If you would like all of our past episodes, of course, you can go to our website anytime, upfordebate.tv. Check it out there. The full archives are available as well as in any of our podcast apps. Just subscribe to Up for Debate. You can get the latest episodes as well as the past catalog. Of course, you can watch a video on YouTube and follow us at Up for Debate TV on Twitter. Email us upfordebatetv@gmail.com. But that's going to wrap it up here. So on behalf of Matt, I'm Sean. We appreciate you being here as always, and we're going to see you next time for another great episode of Up for Debate.